Hi, this is Eva for Once Upon a Timeline. Welcome to Midnight Mandela. How are you doing this week? Another very short, kind of weird week. I think the only thing at this point would be weird is if the week was not weird. All right, so I was kind of looking over your chit chats and somebody mentioned the Schumann and put in a link. That is definitely very strange. Now I'm looking at it and it kicked on so instantly that I do have to wonder if they'll report that that was some kind of mechanical failure or something, because it's bizarre. Now, I would say that I did feel kind of strange today, but like I said, that's really not all that unusual. It's just that the kind of strange just keeps changing a little. I think today I just had a lot of naps, but then I would wake up and feel great. But then while I was sleeping, I would sleep what felt like an hour and it would be like 5 minutes, and then I would wake up and I would be all confused, like I couldn't remember where I am because I was taking a nap on the couch, and I was like, am I at home or here? And usually I just know that when I wake up I remember where I am, but I kept doing it, and I did it over and over. I sleep 5 minutes, wake up, get confused. Then after about that 8th or 9th time I was like, this has happened too many times. It's like getting creepy. It's like deja vu or something. Then, I don't know. So my energy's been really erratic. But when I'm awake, I feel good. And even when I'm sleeping, I don't feel too bad. But I did feel kind of like over-energized earlier. I don't know. So it was a little bit different than the normal weird, but not that different. I don't know. Can somebody check the other, like, there's different Schumann monitors all over. I think the Russians have a bunch of them. And last I checked those, they were putting those up online again. But I'm wondering if that's showing up everywhere or just on that one. Frankly, I got confused because there used to just be one Schumann residence, and now there's many of them. And I feel like I kind of used to be smart enough to understand the world, at least kind of. But as this goes on, I just like, there's so many things that I can't really understand unless I spent a really long time studying them. It used to be simple enough that you could get an overview by just kind of reading it. But that is falling by the wayside, and Schumann is one of those. I've had this emotional thing going on for 3 days without any reason, heart palpitations. So there's really something new and weird. Even the normies are saying it now. That's interesting. Yeah, actually, I was a little emotional lately. Like, it's weird because I'll feel all emotional, but somehow I won't get sucked into it. It's almost like I'm going, or I'll only get sucked into it for like a few seconds. And I'll be like, oh, that's weird. Why am I doing that? Like, I've got distance from it. It's still happening, but I'm over here going, oh, hilarious. You know, like, it's almost like, I don't even know how to describe it. This is the original Russian one on Telegram. Yeah, but the Russians got, like, don't they have like 3 or 4 of them? I'm just curious if the rest of them have that. Let me see if I can find it. I used to have this saved. Resonance. Actually, I should definitely do Google for this. Close enough. Unfortunately, as much as Google sucks, it still seems to be better than a lot of them. Okay. Animation. No. I do see a sudden craziness over here. Let's see. BGS geomagnetism. Maybe that one will have the latest. This looks like an old page. Trying to explain it. Where did they get this from? This is like a new image. Has been crazy this week. Okay, here we go. Maybe we can find this. That was a year ago. Why does it look so much like this one that it starts all suddenly? Okay, well, I've learned that it can start all suddenly. I've learned that much. Because it did a year ago. And it won't be exactly a year ago, but... You know, the other thing is my computer, this computer is very reliable, knock on wood. I mean, there has been weird things with the program that exports the signal for the show. But overall, this computer, I have been extremely pleased with it. Today, for the first time, there was weird things. And I don't know if it was an internet thing or a computer thing, because I really haven't had this. But basically, stuff just wouldn't load. Like... I clicked on the Brave search engine and it gave me a 404 error. And then it said, like, couldn't be found. And I'm like, I'm just searching for a simple term. There's no way that there was no search results for it. And then I went to a different one and everything was fine for a few minutes. And then another thing just wouldn't load. So I don't know if that's, you know, I've had those problems with computers before and it was the computer, but I've also had it where the internet was kind of weird that day and then I heard about it later. So I don't know what's up, but this is not the Schumann. Let's see. This is not the recent one. Come on. Now live. Today. 131 is not the day. Okay, these guys had it live before, but last time I checked it wasn't working. Okay. View live data. Let's see. 2/20/2025. Wait, that's like 5 days ago. Can I go? There's nothing for today. Okay, so these are all old. That sucks. Live data from 1 week ago. Thanks a lot. You suck. How come I can't get back? Oh, I did have to do all that. Okay. I will try one more. View live data. All right, these are all like from days ago, so they're not useful at all. Planet today, maybe? Graph updated every 15 minutes. Prediction changes. The heck? Okay, that I don't even know this. I don't even know if that chart's normal or not. All right, well, that doesn't look really weird. What date is that? That's still from 2/24. It's updated every 15 minutes, and we have nothing. So this must be all the time it wasn't working. 2/20. Interesting. So what, is there just no data from the last couple days? Is that the problem? Actually, that's kind of weird, too. Click on the charts. Did I have to click on the charts over there? Click on the charts. Maybe that's what I didn't do. Okay, well, that is definitely the weird one. Let's see if there's anything weird about the frequency. Okay, I don't know. There's definitely something different about this section than there, where it's just the amplitude is higher. These are overlapping. But it's weird since the last couple days, but I don't know if this is weird, like for months of weird or not. Let's check out electromagnetic. It's 227. Okay. I don't know if that's weird or not. I have no idea what Q factors are, so. Okay, so it did like kick in like right here. And what is that? At exactly 0, it goes crazy? I'm just wondering though if this is all the same monitoring facility, then it could still be a problem with the monitoring facility. I mean, life's weird enough that I'm not going to assume that, but... Alright, see what you guys got. We had that before in 2020. Friends, this dramatic pattern is reminiscent of the pattern that occurred on the Schumann in January 2020 and February before COVID was declared as a pandemic. Well, let's hope something else interesting happens this time that is better. Coming the day before the new moon, this can be seen as a report reading the chart as reflective of human consciousness of something that humanity is perceiving about our environment that has not yet risen to waking consciousness, in my view. It also can be seen as some attempt to ground something in the human consciousness that would influence the lunar month of March. What we do know is that data behind the image shows that this yellow frequency band, mode 2, reached the highest end of this range with the dramatic image, blah, blah. I don't know what all that means. It says potentially an attempt to influence. Shit's getting weird. Okay, that's the short version. Okay. I wish they'd linked to the other weird one, like how long did it last for? See, I'm just not smart enough for this timeline when it comes to this stuff. On the flip side, when I get on Reddit, I feel like I'm the only one almost with 2 brain cells. But then when I come here and I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about. I mean, like, I'm not saying that's wrong. I don't know. I feel like we're all guessing all the time anyways at this point. So yeah, I don't know. It's kind of a problem I have during the daytime sometimes though, is I just feel like, I just feel frazzled and kind of energetic but tired, and my brain's a little staticky, and I just feel like I just can't like relax my brain, and it's just irritating, and I probably walk around with this look like it's not even a bad mood so much as a bad feeling, in like a physical feeling, but I can't like explain it, so it's irritating. And that's another one of those that once the sun sets, it usually starts smoothing out. Okay, where are we in here? All right, we'll get to that. I actually have that as an early... I'm going to say what that thumbnail thing is. Jackie already knows. Jackie actually had that on the chopping block, and then I saw that you mentioned it also. So that thing has been going all over Reddit, like, since what? Today, I think. Just today. I sometimes wonder how much is like, with all the stuff that Trump's doing, a lot of people are sort of losing their stability over it. And granted, it is quite a change. I don't think I really understand the level of reaction to it. I mean, the budget, we've been It's interesting because I actually really looked into the math for the United States, and I think I just didn't want to because I just hear deficit, we owe a lot, but I kind of really looked at it, and I really now realize how absolutely badly we are in debt. And so for years now, we've been spending 40% more money than we bring in, and that's a huge deficit. It's not just a tad, it's 40%. So that means in order to have a balanced budget, we have to cut spending of the federal government, which is not the cities and the states. So the one good news is that a lot of our infrastructure is actually run by cities and states. And a lot of the cities and states are in a lot better shape, hopefully, than the feds. I actually should look into that. But to my knowledge, they're like, most of them aren't like bankrupt or anything. But the feds really need to cut 40% of spending. So people are losing it on the cuts and even the idea of cuts, but we owe $36 trillion, okay? And we bring in about 4.5 trillion in a year. So in a whole year, we get 4.5 trillion. And then we spend that on stuff. So that's not even pure profits. We, in fact, spend more than we have. So we get 4.5 trillion in like various taxes and stuff. And then we've been spending like 7-something trillion for years now. And we owe 36 trillion. So if you get 4.5 trillion a year and you owe 36 trillion, that's a really deep hole. And what's happening is that the other countries are starting to look at us as a bad bet, like they aren't going to pay that back. So they are getting reluctant to loan us any more money. And in order to get money, we have to promise them higher and higher interest rates. And so like about 10 years ago, it was about 5% of our profits of that 4.5 trillion dollars would go to paying off the interest on our loan, not the principal, just the interest. Now we're at about 12%. So we pay the same amount to pay off our interest as the entire defense budget, which is also just under $1 trillion. And I know I used to go around saying, well, we'll just cut the defense budget and make the difference. The thing is, our one-year deficit was about 1.8 trillion, and the defense budget is a little less than $1 trillion. So if we remove the entire defense budget, we would have only cut half of the deficit for this year only and not touched a molecule of the greater debt. So that means we have to cut a lot of stuff. We have to cut really hard. The last time we balanced a budget was about 25 years ago under Bush. And then before that, there was a year or two under Clinton that was even better, where he balanced it and had a surplus. And back in those days, we were at a point where we could pay stuff back, but we're getting really, really close to the point of being utterly, utterly screwed. And we absolutely have to cut. So I know it's really scaring the living bejesus out of a lot of Democrats, but please understand that, logically, we have to cut really, really hard, even if you don't like who's doing it. On the flip side, maybe some magic fairy dust will come and we'll find some trillions. I mean, I wouldn't even be greatly surprised. I would be happy if that happened. But like, he maybe will audit the IRS and find out they've been hiding a few trillion a year somewhere. I wouldn't even be shocked at this point. But I do feel like maybe that's part of why people are like, emotions are so high, and I have trouble understanding it, but maybe that's part of what's fueling whatever is going to happen. When I feel weird energies, I do some housework. Yeah, I did go outside and walk in the sun, and that helps some. But then I don't have, sometimes when you go for a walk and you're just like booking it, like, yeah, go making I don't know, you just feel healthy and it feels good. But it doesn't really feel good when I feel like that. And I'll walk and I'll feel better when I get back. But, and then it'll last a little bit, and then that feeling will sneak back. So I haven't really found a cure for that energy feeling. Exercise like dissipates a little of it, but it's just kind of blunted by tiredness, I guess. Yeah, Jackie, that's what that is. You got it. I'm going to cover it soon. NASA. So NASA, where does NASA even get its funding? I know. That's a good question. Where does NASA get funding? Because technically it's private, right? Annual federal budget. The budget specifies amounts. 22.6 billion. Okay, so then you add like a couple decimal places. So let me see. If we cut them, then that would be about 1/5 of a trillion. And so 5 of those would equal a trillion. So we need to cut about 9 NASAs out of our budget. So if we cut NASA, would be 1/9 of the way there. If we cut all of it, just whacked it. 0.48% of the federal budget. Now, some of the budget can stay. We don't have to remove the whole budget, but so yeah, we need 9 NASAs. So if we got rid of like the entire defense budget and then 1 NASA, and then that would be about, then we'd still just need like I don't know, rough 700 billion left or something, like 0.7-ish. I don't know. Don't ask me to do math in my head, but it's somewhere around there. So obviously the big issue that we have is that like 75% of the federal budget is really all social programs. It's Social Security, and the big ones are Social Security and Medicaid and those. And they're such a huge chunk. And we have to pay off the 12% that goes to fund our debt, has to stay. So that is off limits, because otherwise we'd default loans, and then, that would be even worse. So there's really not many places you could cut. I mean, you could cut, and then like beyond Social Security and Medicaid and stuff, it's like bridges and roads, the police force, the judicial system, all of those things. Like even the ones that aren't those are also important things. I mean, there's really not much that actually looks like crap. Now, I think some of the stuff that has been much touted in the news is definitely spending that we don't need to be doing, like funding Politico and private orgs and comic books and operas in other countries, and a lot of it is probably just trying to foment coups, but that's my theory anyways. It's not only my theory, but so 2 weeks in a row you had a lump sucker as a profile. Wait, I didn't have lump suckers last week. I had those haven't been on in like a long time, lump suckers. Maybe you looked at it last week, but last week was some kind of lightning thing. I can't remember exactly what it was. No, it was those sun dogs, I believe. That was the last few weeks anyway. I did have another. I had that blobfish, and that was a couple of years ago. So, that was really the thing, is that I've been saying, well, just cut this and just cut that. When I actually looked at the numbers, it's sort of like when I said, vitamins, I get plenty of iron. But when I actually looked at the numbers of how much I eat meat and how much iron is in the meat, and then I found out that I only ate a tiny percentage that I really needed to do. And the budget's a lot like that. When I actually looked at the numbers, I'm like, well, if you cut that, you're only going to get a tiny percentage of what you need to do. So you actually got to look at the numbers. That's one thing I've really starting to learn. Because I'm just as guilty as anybody going around, well, just cut the defense budget, because in my mind it's huge, right? Okay, so this weird flashies, I think the weird shuttery looking things where there's a line and stuff, I'm pretty sure that's actually the camera having trouble with the shutter keeping up with this lightning. So when you see like the the splits in the screen there with like weird light on only one side. I'm pretty sure that's it. Okay, that's really loud. Let's pull it down. So see how there's like a line here, and then I think that, I mean, I've heard that described many times as this is the shutter just not being fast enough for this flashing light. Inferior camera. So yes, and I think that what this is basically a whole bunch of ordinary-ish lightning for this timeline, plus the shutter just not keeping up. Let's see if there's anything else. I'm also wondering if this is legit, because the sound sounds normal, but the flashes look like they were really sped up, and then the sound booms do not match these flashes at all. There should be like boom, 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 boom. So I'm thinking what might happen here is they sped up the lightning bits, and then they kept the old sound recording part of it and put them together. There's so much cheating online now. I can never swear to it because maybe lightning is that fast now, but that to me is the most likely thing going on there. Linda. Well, hey, at least you repaired the hole in your coat pocket by magic. I don't know what to say. So the blobfish, I don't think is a lump sucker. It was the first creepy blob looking creature, and that thing has changed because it used to just be blobby, but then it grew like this big nose. People are like, what's a lump sucker? Yeah, I'll get to. Sorry. Look, Resin's bizarre lightning. It's out of control. I don't know. I think it's just the same video. Continue for 2 hours. You can't trust anything online. That's the problem. And especially if my brain can just see it pretty quick. I'm like, ew. Because there's some that I don't even catch. So if I can catch it, it's probably fake. Every country should start to invest in their own country and get out of the business of other nations. That's starting to become more of a thing. It's like social social distancing. I was just thinking the other day, that whole COVID thing with the social distancing. It wasn't just the 8 feet that word kind of took over. It wasn't just standing separate. There's been a very strong psychological trend towards just, we're talking about the divorces and intolerance of different opinions and just not being as interested in social interaction. And I don't think it's COVID that did it to me, because I'm not afraid of germs, and so like not any more than I was 10 years ago. Let's just put it that way. So what is causing it? I don't know. It is the trend. And now you see countries do it, but people think, oh, you're helping another country. But then we find out that we're just like fomenting coups and undermining their democratically elected president because we don't like his policies and he's not playing ball with us and all that stuff. And it's like, okay, well, if we're going to be doing that, then yes, I think we better mind our own beeswax. Oh, those are creepy. Haunted, what? These things, there's so many of these squirts and these little, it looks like it has skeletons and so many see-through creatures. And oh, kitty, you want up here? All right, yeah. She asked to come up, so I guess I'm forced to do it. All right, kitty. Now there'll be a cat tail here. She'll probably stay up for a few minutes, rub her head on my arm, and then jump down. The official scientific name is Clavelina ossipundi, which means little bottle. Yep, there she goes. She doesn't really like it when I'm yapping away at the screen. I think she might think I've lost my marbles. Those are really cool. When was this discovered? Just recently? Last year. Okay. Nice. I know there's a lot of like, I can't say that I really love Elon. I mean, he's certainly acted immature sometimes. Do I actually think he's going to take over the whole country? I find it unlikely. It's again the same old thing I always say, you know, there's like this fear porn on the one side and the perfect world on the other. And usually we go down the middle somewheres. The worst did not happen with the lockdowns despite the right's abject fear of it. And I was sucked into that drama more than I'm going to get sucked into this one. But I like to think, I prefer to think that it'll get better. Like we'll cut the budget, economy will improve. I like that idea. So I'm trying to really align with that. And it may be that Trump's doing it just because he's mad at the Dems and he wants to burn down the joint. Whatever the reason, it doesn't have to be a very good, what I would consider a really good and altruistic reason. But maybe there is some of that, you know, or maybe he's responding to what his constituents want. I don't know, but I like to hope that it'll work out. And I've definitely seen these things happen where things are done for a bad reason, but they turn out good. And I've definitely seen people think they're doing something for a good reason and it turned out bad. So I do think that it could clack together to be a good thing for whatever reason. And do I care if it's Elon doing it versus, say, Biden? No, I don't. I mean, just effing do it. Just, you know, that's it. I really don't care as long as it gets done. I really don't think that Elon's going to have the ability to take over the universe doing this, so it just seems irrational to me. I mean, I guess anything's possible, but there's no special reason to think that he's going to do that versus anybody else. I mean, it's already such a total cluster F of of corruption that if Elon took it, I'm not convinced it'd be even worse if he actually did like take over everything and start running it. It'd probably be run better than it is now. Not that I'm saying I want that to be happening, but so, you know, again, we don't know Elon, and I don't personally know him. I haven't known him since childhood. I only know what he says on TV, and that's the same with Trump. So anybody who's like running around going, this is it for sure, blah, blah, blah. I'm just like, I can't really totally respect that because how are you going to know? And, you know, a lot of the fear mongering, though, really isn't based on much. It's based on they hate Elon, and Elon is getting to do some stuff. And, you know, 5-6 years ago, all those same sides loved Elon and he was going to save the world, and now they hate him. And I'm like, I don't really get it. Nobody bothers to ask why they didn't do all this stuff during the Trump presidency. You know, I have definitely wondered about that, and I didn't really expect much out of this presidency. I think there are two possibly rational reasons why. Number one, I think that he tried to comply with the system a lot back then, and he didn't know much about the system. It didn't even seem like he really thought he was going to win. He hadn't really spent much time like figuring out what to do. I don't think he's really that great at like jumping in and figuring out what to do, especially because it's really out of his area of real estate and stuff. And I think he also trusted a lot of people, like, okay, you got to do this because blah, blah, blah. Okay. So, and I think that's really what happens to a lot of the presidents. I mean, certainly Biden, I don't think he was very cognizant of what was going on. So if some advisors come up and say, look, Biden, you got to do this because if you don't, this is going to happen. And he'd be like, all right, sign it. And so I think that's a lot of why. And then the second thing is, I think after they went after him for 4 years with the lawfare, some of it might be legit, but some of it really is just petty lawfare. And I really don't know how much of each is it. Like I said, I don't worship Trump or anything. He may well be very crooked along with all the rest. But I think he's furious. And now he's like nothing to lose, because what are they going to do? More of what they've already thrown everything they have at him for 4 years. And so they really did. What else are they going to do? So I think part of it is that he's furious. He wants to burn the place down. And he wants to, I think he loves to live up to his constituency and get their praise. And so he's doing what his constituency wants. Very much so. You know, they want less immigration. They want a balanced budget. They want to cut the fat. So a lot of those things are actually good if they're even possible. And I think that's also motivating him. And they're not going to be the purest motivations. But, you know, the outcome, I guess at this point, we just have to hope for a good outcome. And again, this is just my guessing. I'm not going to say for sure this is why. Because, as I said, I do not know them. The swamp was and still is too deep. So, yeah, I mean, it's very easy to think that way, that it's hopeless. And I don't think you're ever going to root out every molecule of weeds. But, you know, I try to leave room in my brain that things are possible and that timelines exist where it can happen. Even if maybe it's some weird, unlikely scenarios that bring it to pass. I like to think there is always a way. Yeah, and so to some extent, I think I'm just very curious. It's like something's happening. It's not more of the same old thing. Yeah, and that has been a lot of it is just people, like, I don't understand their logic. I mean, Ukraine is losing. We've been trying to beat Russia for 3 years, throw everything we have at it as far as weaponry. We're out of ammo. I think it's pretty clear that Ukraine cannot win. So to me, it's logical to pull out and just make peace and not have any more people killed, because we can't win. I am shocked. I thought Russia would not do this well, but they have done really well. And I think in the past that would have been obvious enough for everybody involved to realize that they've got to slink on out of there. But the EU seems weirdly, completely incapable of accepting this obvious fact. You know, are they seeing a different reality than others? I mean, are they not watching the steady loss of territory, you know, day after day for over a year now that Ukraine is suffering? I don't know. Oh, yeah, and that was some guy called a politician an imbecile. I think it was Germany. And I'm sure that almost every one of us in the United States has at some point typed online that some politician is an idiot or an imbecile or something along those lines. But it is illegal to say that your politician is an imbecile. And apparently he didn't threaten anybody. He has no criminal record, no violence in his past. And he was arrested, and they sent a SWAT team to his house. 5 people busted down the door, took his computer and all his electronics, and arrested him. Which is insane. It's insane. I mean, like, even Russia would not go, even in the past, Soviet Union would not go that crazy over just one guy flapping his lip. You know, one unknown dude he's not important. And nobody cares if he says somebody's an imbecile. So it's just bizarre to me. It's like there's such a world change of democracy and lack of freedom that I grew up with. I mean, if someone had said that 20 years ago that EU would do this, I think nobody would ever believe it. They're like, no. I mean, you should be able to criticize your politicians. And I don't understand. You know, like, people get up there and they're like defending this. That, you know, it's not fake news. The officials of Germany have gotten up and defended this activity. They haven't denied it or anything. Do you think, this is bull. There's more to the story. There's not. There's not. I looked into it. You know, I'm like, this can't be real. It's real. And it wasn't just that guy. They said they did 50 different people on the same day. So it's crazy. So, like, how far does it have to go before people say enough? I don't know. Maybe that's the world they're going to live in now. And people will have to move out of there if they don't like it. I don't know. Or maybe it'll just hit a point where it gets ludicrous enough where people start to push back. And I know EU, they have a higher tolerance than Americans, so maybe they will take longer to push back. Ta-da. Oh, that's funny, because where is it? I have that one saved over here. Lumpfish chirper. I'm pretty sure I have that one saved. Nope, not there. Here. See? I had to prove you. This is yours. I'm like, total, and this is mine. All right. Mine's bigger, so I'm going to play mine. So I've had this on before, this standard wing nightjar. I'm almost positive I've had this on. So it's this bird, and it has these two long stick thingies with two big fat feathers out the side. Like, so, there's the subreddit, like the joke subreddit called Birds Aren't Real. And so they call these antennas, like, they're not even hiding the antennas anymore. I mean, maybe I'll get to a timeline where birds are all fake, but I don't think I'm there yet. But anyway, it's just a joke sub. People hopefully don't take it seriously, but here we have this amazing thing. So these things are part of the bird. So when they fly, that's how they look. They have like pennants, like on a castle, stuck to I don't even know where this part sticks to. Is it the body? I don't even know. Where is it even? Is it on the wings? I just realized. You know what? It looks like it must be on the wings because they flap when the wings flap. They're only still when the bird's gliding. All right, so that's what do we just call that? That nightjar. All right, I'm going to close this off since we already have it. Standard winged nightjar. Did I have that on here? I don't think I've written it here. So this one was also making the rounds very heavily on Reddit, like the last day or two. So that's why I had it on there. So we got 2 synchronicities now, or maybe 3. Were you coming up with all the ones I already have? Okay, lightning. And I do have more lightning stuff, speaking of lightning. All right, we've already covered that. There's the Schumann. Maybe I'll just save that one separate. Hold on. I'm going to look at it later. There, now it's on a separate window. Okay, so that thing that looks like a blobby head, like a rubbery, slimy head, that is actually a fish. I'm sure you've mostly figured that out. It's called the smooth lumpfish, which is a different fish from the blobfish of like 7 years ago. And it's a deep sea fish for now. Now, what I find a lot of times, these new ones come up and they say they're deep sea, so you don't see them a lot. But then the story is, but they come up to the surface, towards the surface during the day, and then they go back down. Or there'll be some kind of story like that. And then pretty soon, they're not even that deep sea anymore. So I wouldn't be shocked if that happens to this. So supposedly, I don't know, there's different rumors that they don't look as brain blobby like when they're actually under the deep sea. But I haven't really verified that totally. So this one has been really viral, making the rounds. That's interesting because they cut this one a lot like I actually trimmed it too. So apparently the back of the fish is back there. This guy said he pulled this up on a fishing line or something. I didn't really look into it, but it just looks like a it looks like a big old brain. So what I saw with blobfish is that over time it just gets more and more oogie looking. So I think if we go back and look at these in like 3 years, they're going to be even more creepy, disgusting, which is hard to believe, but I do think it's possible. I mean, does that not look like an alien brain? It totally does. Now, I think this here is the tail and it's flat back down, but it just looks like a cranial ridge. They don't have that much tail. One thing about these, it's kind of hard to tell. Like some of these are coelacanth and other fish. We covered that one last week. What the heck is this? Lumpfish? Maybe that's it? Like how they're supposed to look on the deep sea, maybe? There wasn't a lot on Wiki on what they actually look like when they're not looking like lumps, so... So I did have those on, but I don't think I had a video of those birds. I think I just had images of them. Yeah, there really is. I mean, I've gotten to the point where like, yep, another coincidence. Yep. It's not even that weird anymore. It's almost like, oh, there's been 2 or 3 today. What do you know? It'd be like if a butterfly flew by. It's only that weird. It's kind of enough to take note of. It's cool, but it's like, yeah, okay. What are they for? That is a good question, isn't it? All right, hold on. I'm pretty sure they're going to say it's like some kind of thing to attract females, because that's almost always what they just, anything can get blamed on it. Well, females like, why would they? I have a giant poofy red thing on my throat to attract females. Why would females be attracted to a giant poofy red thing? They never explain that. Placed with the pennant winged, previously placed with the pennant winged nightjar. What, so there's another one? All right, what's a pennant wing nightjar? I better not see an image of the same thing. Capra mulgus vexillarius. All right, that's the other one that we just looked at. Longipenis. I feel like we're getting trolled. I actually did look this up, and it's supposed to be pennis. Is supposed to mean, what was that? Oh, crap. It meant like feather. That's it. It meant feather. Like brain fart. Okay. That's what it's supposed to mean. All right. I know we saw this thing before because the head was weird. So maybe that's the one we saw before. But when I saw this, I just was looking at the head. So what, did we find out now that it has like this on it when it flies, but somehow I never saw it? All right. Well, that's cool, but... Or is it this? No, I think that's different. Yeah, okay. Is that the head, that weird head that I saw over there? I don't know. Okay, so there's that. And then this is the one we just looked at. The adult male grows a winged ornament during the breeding season. Okay, so what? It's only during the breeding season, which consists of a broad secondary flight feather on each wing, elongated up to 21 inches over twice the length of the bird's body. In normal flight, these feathers trail behind, but in display flight, they are displayed like standards. These feathers have been postulated as a feature developed through intense sexual selection. Outside the breeding season, the female is distinguished from the male by its smaller size, blah, blah. Okay, so yes, they're saying it's a breeding. This is the world's worst photo right there. Because everything is breeding. It's like the catch-all excuse. Reality is too lazy to come up with anything original. Yeah, the thumbnail is that that lump sucker fish. Time is I was gonna say that, but I do feel like I say that like every week, so it's like being a broken record. But yes, I do think that time is going by too fast. It's just like, I adapt and then it just feels like it speeds up again. There's a new funnel web spider called the Big Boy. Is it like weird looking? Didn't you use that bird as a thumbnail a long time ago? I might have. I know I had something like that up. And I don't think I watched a video of it, though. But I know I covered those things with those pens. Or at least it was a bird real similar to it. And I think it was that one. Evolutionary biologists place a lot of faith in sexual selection. They never explain why that even exists. Yeah, and I mean, like, so it grows it only during the breeding season, so it seems kind of obvious to guess that. But I don't get why would a female want, like, okay, I would want the most survival skilled mate, right? And that would not be the mate where he's most likely to get eaten. Okay, like especially for birds that do like the paired assistance thing. She's got the eggs and the chick, and he's supposed to bring food. Do you want him sticking out and getting eaten, or do you want him to be plain and survive and keep feeding the chicks? So it's like not logical to me. Okay, so this thing showed up. You probably remember the invention of the light bulb. In my timeline, the story was that the light bulb was invented, and then they started putting in electrical systems to have street lights and that. But in this timeline, they had some kind of weird gas lighting system before they had electrical. In my timeline, they would just have like, candle wicks and fancy like little, they didn't have a piped in gas is what I'm trying to get at. So I didn't have the term gas lighting. That was not in my timeline, and then suddenly it was everywhere and went way back for hundreds of years or whatever. But now we have this other thing that's not gas lighting. It's the light bulbs that predate the regular light bulbs. Like the regular light bulbs are now the closed light bulbs, and these are like the open air light bulbs. So this was around since in this timeline. No, that's not it. Open. Oh my god, I can't read my own. Open carbon arc lamps predate the light bulb. Commonly, they were very common from 1880 to 1895. So for like 15 years, supposedly they were on all the main streets of the big cities, and this was used to like light the roads. Many hundreds of thousands made and were common as street lights. They also used them in industrial facilities like factories and stuff where they needed lighting, or they wanted lighting it in the off hours. Was first practical electric light, invented in approximately 1802, but the exact date is not fully established. So for another 100 years-ish before the regular light bulb was invented, they had these things. And now I'll show you what they are. So down here is where the light happens. Electrical comes through here She's going to attach some fiddle faddle stuff here. Let me just open this larger. We're getting there. So this has some kind of a, not a wick, but a filament where the light comes. And supposedly these filaments don't last really long. In fact, one source I read said it only lasted 9 hours. So I'm like, so what is on the street lights? They replace every filament every, evening for the next, or they just replace them when they burn out and half of them are out half the time. I don't know. But it seems weird. So this is, it looks like a giant wine glass. And she's holding it. All right, so don't ask me to explain the science, but it's some kind of arc plasma field or something. I should probably look it up, but and then you fiddle faddle with this until you get the right amount of strength. And you can see it's like super bright. So they're saying, oh, well, they're really harsh and bright. Yeah, I think it's because it's plasma. And then they said they use them for movies. So for 100 years before the light bulb, we had the open air light system. It looks like I couldn't find a lot of info. You'd think there'd be tons, but I think this is pretty new in the timeline. You can get, apparently, it to be like a nightlight almost. Open carbon arc lamp from 1889. Turned on for the first time in 100 years. Very first successful artificial electric light technology. The specific lamp is typical of many first-generation carbon arc lamps, commonly used from 1880 to 1895. Blah, blah, blah. This one was called the Ward arc lamp, and I tried Googling that, and I couldn't really find anything. Open carbon. Let me just see what even is that. I'm pretty sure it's some kind of plasma thing. I've said before that plasma is like the thing in this timeline very much. Produces light by creating an electric arc between two carbon rods. It creates an electric arc. Used in 1870 for streetlights. Intense light output range from 2,000 to 4,000 candle power, making it much brighter than early incandescent lamps. Has rapid consumption of the carbon rods, which need to be regularly adjusted to maintain the arc. Okay, so maybe it's 9 hours until you adjust it. So maybe they just have to go around and just adjust them right before nighttime. Carbon arc lamps continue to be used in specialized applications where high-intensity light source is needed, such as some large spotlights and projectors. They are particularly useful for producing light spectrum similar to sunlight, which is beneficial for testing materials and coatings. One of the interesting things that I read a lot of places was like, oh, it's glaring and obnoxious because it's like the sun. And the color of the light is unpleasant because it's like the sun. And 20 years ago, it was a good thing if the light was natural and like the sun. But now it is discussed as like it's undesirable and harsh. So they said there's one on Etsy. Actually, I'm going to check that real quick. I mean, who knows if it's still on Etsy, but Etsy, here we go. We'll just click this link. Vintage electron carbon arc lamp. That definitely looks different. Only $650. Comes with full metal stand, very displayable. Okay, so it looks like, it's definitely maybe more sophisticated than the one we just saw. There's the carbon rod. 2 carbon rods, so I guess you just turn those. Lens adjustment, so that's to like what, direct the light so it doesn't go all over the place. Does it even work? One carbon rod is broken but can still be used. So you'd have to source those carbon rods in order to get this to work. I assume that would be possible. All right, they don't really know if it works because they didn't try it. That's what we just saw. All right, so there's only one. Interesting. 650, that's really not that bad if there's only like one on all of Etsy. Which also just seems weird to me. Like, it doesn't add up. If there's really only one, then shouldn't it be way more expensive? If it's only... There should be more of these. I mean, they said they were common. I kind of feel like we're just getting these in the timeline. So here I am on eBay to see what can be found. Carbon arc light for magic lantern. Okay, so this one was made for... It seems like we're missing all of it, though. There's the carbon rods, and that's it? I mean, you need more than carbon rods to make this thing work, don't you? Carbon arc lamp fixture for magic lantern or early. Okay. So, you're missing the whole lamp part is all. Double carbon arc sun health lamp. Ah. Okay, so... Yeah, that actually would be good for northerners, huh? You could get like your mini sun off on. Check it out. I wonder if it actually works. You know, if I was wealthy, I would definitely consider buying one of these. Have your own little mini sun. It doesn't say if it works or what. Let's see. Needs some work to be functional. Dave could probably fix it. It looks like it's basically functional. I kind of like this one better because it's a little enclosed and it doesn't look like, you know, the cat's tail is going to touch it and then catch on fire and burn down the house. So yes, we have a whole new tech. I feel like this is a whole new tech for me. I mean, have any of you guys ever heard of this thing? I taught that the first light was, you know, the light bulb. So... Modern sunlight is way brighter and whiter. Yeah, I mean, I've definitely thought of that. I don't know. They say it has more UV than sunlight. That might actually be good, considering, because, you know, we have the red light therapy, which is UV. So that would actually be helpful to have that. It'd be like the early UV lamp, basically. Arc lamps. That looks like that first one we saw. The first form. Okay, so that was an earlier one. Double lamp, single lamp. Like, it's not bright enough. You're going to have two. Is that really one? So you'd have to be able to find these carbon rods. That seems like that's the main thing. Creates a buzzing sound. Large amounts of Radio frequency interference. Interesting. Fire hazards. Yep, can see that. So a while back I showed you that there was this weird glass thing that had things sticking out, and that was like the early an early power supply thing that they used to use, and that was also not in my timeline. So that thing is actually weirder than this thing. Early arc lamp inventors created glass globes to fit around the lamp. Some globes were made of opal glass to diffuse the light and block some of the harmful UV rays. Are they really harmful though, the UV? Because like now we do the UV for health reasons, so. Inventors had to find a mechanical way to feed carbons into the devices that burned up. Control engineering was used to figure out a way to sense the electric current of the lamp and control a set of magnet devices that would keep the gap size constant. Lamps in the 1870s and before used clockwork type feeding devices, gears, clutches, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so they sorted most of that stuff out. Who knows how reliable it was. Dang. I don't know, have any of you ever heard of this stuff? Because this is wild to me. Just utterly wild. So it's like a light bulb. So like, I always remember them saying it had to be enclosed to work, and there was this whole drama of, you know, figuring out that if you enclose it would make it work. But if you had this thing around for 100 years, then the whole enclosure thing, I mean, the invention of the light bulb isn't even that big a whoop because they already had these. So the light bulb was just a little bit more efficient use of this. All right. This one kind of blows me away, frankly, because I know it wasn't there. Yeah, we're going into the speed. So our past is becoming the steampunk past. Steampunk is coming into reality, but in our past. Like, we're already past the steampunk past, but. You know, they had gas. Now they're saying it's this. I don't know. Honestly, how do people live in Australia with everything on land and in the ocean trying to kill them? I spoke with some Australians and they're like, well, in the cities, there's not that many animals and they just have a few more spiders. But a lot of those big ones aren't poisonous. And I don't know, it might be worse to have bears around because there's fewer of them. But man, they'll really stomp you bad if you have to deal with them. And why would they have this person going around every day to light the street lights every day and turn them off? I don't know. We had a lot of labor hours for cheap back then, I guess. So for me, like, they just didn't have, like, it was lanterns. I mean, like, they wouldn't have very many of them, and then it was gas lights, that had a piped in gas. So I guess now it's, okay, I already did that one. Now it's this thing. I was wondering about those carbide lamps because I heard about those like 3-4 years ago. And let me see if we can find this. Yeah, and then Dave said he always knew about him, but he always gets all the downloads. So we actually bought, there's only like $20 to buy these on eBay. So Dave actually bought one. and you put this, what is that crap you put in there? Carbide, I guess. I don't know. Yeah, calcium carbide. That's the word. Calcium carbide. You put it in there, and then it emits this gas, and then you can light the gas, and then this reflector kind of reflects the light in the direction you want. And so supposedly the coal miners would use this stuff. But I am very suspicious that this may not have been in my timeline originally. But yeah, they're cute. They're like just like this big, so they're very doable. But it is, an open flame. So with my old lanterns, I have one of those because Dave bought it, but where's he going to put it? So he just set it on the shelf with all my stuff. It's just, I'm not rich now, so like, for a while I was pretty rich during COVID, and before that when I was at the very cheap rental, but now I can't just buy a bunch of crap. I'm trying to get back to where I can buy, well, not a bunch, but some crap without worrying about it. As bright as when you use carbide, and apparently there are yeah. What the hell? The carbide lamps were used. See, I know. I was really suspicious about that when it came. I'm like, oh, maybe I didn't know about it, but steampunk is lame. I don't know, man. It's real. I mean, it's all becoming real, so if you don't like it, you're kind of screwed. So, when I say I was really rich, it was rich for me because that was like the first time I could pay every bill without really worrying about it. And buy, I didn't buy extravagantly, but I could just go, I like this shirt, I'm going to buy it. Now, I didn't go and buy $200 shirts or anything, but it was definitely relaxing. But then I got kicked out of the other place because they made it residential. Business is way down, and the fun and games have passed. But, I'm feeling healthier now, so I'm going to try to put more work into my work and get more listings. And I'm going to keep an attitude like it can be sorted out. Because I kind of missed that a little bit less. And, I did not appreciate it properly when I had that easy living, though. And I think I would now. So, I don't know. Hopefully that's the lesson I have to learn, is to appreciate it when you have it. I think I spent too much time stressing out when I had that. Did the ancient Egyptians already have electricity? Well, we started getting those weird images of what looks like batteries and stuff. So I would not be at all shocked if that showed up in the timeline. And then suddenly they go, hey, look, it turns out that the Great Pyramid has electrical wiring or something. Yeah, well, there's garbage stuff you buy. Like, I don't need a carbide lamp, and that's one of the reasons I didn't buy it. But Dave wanted it, and they're cool. So I'm like, all right, I'll put it on the shelf because it looks cool. But there's other stuff, like I want to try this vitamin to see if I feel better. I really need to buy $1,000 worth of beetle wings for the business, but I don't want to spend $1,000, and it's kind of just causing a lot of problems that I don't have the blue beetle wings. So there's that. A lot of it is business related. If you buy in bulk, you save a lot of money, and it's good for your business. So there's those. And I used to just be like, I need $1,000 of purple and blue beetle wings. I'll just buy them. And now I'm like, duh. And I used to just go, well, I really need a couple $1,000 worth of agate slices. I'll just buy them. And now I can't do that. Do I know about the Dune project at Fermilab? No, I don't know what that is. All right, I got that one. I mean, it's not the end of the world, but it was definitely convenient when I could just get stuff I needed. And you end up saving money because you can buy bulk. You can buy in advance. You can, if you see a good deal, you can pounce. This one is weird because we've been kind of discussing how you can like ride all the animals now. Like you can ride emus and you could ride cows and you could ride zebras and giraffes, and it used to be, oh, you can't because they weren't strong enough, they get damaged, blah blah. And there's still some of that narrative, but then now you just find people riding them and there's no obvious damage to them, and they didn't like, you know, they didn't flop over under your weight and like cry or anything. And so this is another example. I'm really suspicious that these like 800-pound wild boars and stuff, I mean, first they said there's wild pigs. Oh, some escaped and they changed slightly. And that was kind of a weird narrative already. Like, you have an animal and just by living in the wild, it changes its morphology. And we're not just talking about getting a little bit stronger muscles. It's a whole different look, you know. And so these wild boars are like getting bigger, bigger, bigger. And now this guy just took one as a pet. A South Korean dude. And this is what really struck me, besides that he taught it to shake. Now, pigs aren't dumb, so there has been a narrative that they're really aggressive, these boars. This one does not look at all aggressive. So maybe it's just wild ones, but this struck me, is that he can just ride his pig. And it looks like it's pretty well behaved and it hasn't bit anybody. And it looks like it doesn't really have much trouble, like hauling his butt either. So another animal that you could ride. I mean, if these pigs get 800 and you weigh 100 pounds, I think in the past I'd worry, oh, you're going to damage it long term, blah, blah. But the timeline is just making everything beefy now. Or porky. Linda, lava lamp. So we're doing lamps today, right? It was a good one for you. There is things built that we can't do today that tells you there was a more advanced civilization. Yeah, but I don't think it was there in my old timeline. Like, a lot of the pyramids weren't even there. A lot of this stuff didn't even exist. So in this timeline, yes, the past had really cool stuff. And stuff's always showing up. But I don't think it was in my original timeline. So maybe that's what has to happen. If we want to have a really good future, then that tech was possible in the past. And since it would have to be possible in the past, it was in the past. Something like that. Physics has changed to make certain things easier. Because of that, there's a high likelihood that other people did it. Yeah, that's another thing. These pigs, man, they used to be a little bit lumbery, but man, they could really move quickly. Now, it was slow on those stairs, but for those little stumpy legs, man, he's like, it's impressive. Yeah. That's a good point, Vivian. The scene from the dwarves riding giant pigs in the Lord of the Rings. Yeah. Are we gonna ride giant eagles next? Javelins. I think you mean javelinas, right? Javelins are really aggressive. There's supposed to be an A in there. I'm almost positive. Javelinas, which is a wild pig. I don't know if it's wild. I think it's a wild pig. So what if you got a javelina and then you just raise it from a little piglet, though? Was it in this timeline? Is it still aggressive? Like in my old timeline, if you got a baby fox and raised it, it would still be aggressive, like really aggressive as an adult, because wild animals are wild was the story. But now, if you do that, they can be pretty good. I mean, they're not exactly the same as your pet dog. But I don't even know if I would say they were that much dangerous than the average house cat. Because let's face it, house cats can be pretty panicky. And when they panic, they can really cause some damage. So I'm not sure what's going on, but nothing is right. Weird stuff is happening. And even the animal kingdom is upside down. Yup. I have seen chickens swimming with ducks and pretending to be one of them. Like lately or in the old days, because I don't think I've ever seen it, but I definitely am seeing tons of video in the last year that's like that. Like, oh, this cat grew up with ducks and now it walks like ducks. And I'm like, well, is it just selective editing and a fake narrative? I don't know. I know they do that kind of thing. This female cat Feral cat is really aggressive. She hates to be touched or held or petted. Lately. Okay, lately you saw the chickens swimming with the ducks. Yeah, those storylines. Otters. Yeah, otters became pets. Used to be like not very many wild animals could be tamed. Like almost none of them. But now they can be pretty chill. I mean, they're always saying, oh, watch out, it's really a wild animal. But I'm not hearing a lot of people getting mauled by these things. Whoops, how come it didn't go? Wait a minute. Shari's link. You know, it just occurs to me, have I ever even seen a chicken going in the water like a duck? Is he pretending to be a duck, or he just wants to be with ducks? Like, maybe he has no chicken friends, so... It didn't look like he liked it as much as the ducks. Let's see. Is he swimming? It looks like he was swimming right there. It doesn't look like he's very good at it. It's got to be a lot harder when you don't have web feet. That's interesting. Okay. You know, we had chickens, but we don't have open water. And I never even thought about whether chickens can swim. I don't think I've ever seen a chicken in a water acting like a duck or swimming. I mean, in the old days, if you threw a chicken in the water, would it drown? I don't even know. Okay, so you have... All right, I'm going to give you a quick synopsis on my how to train a feral cat to like you. Now, it's not 100% because it really depends on the cat, but I've noticed that if a cat is willing to come near you at all, this will usually work. So this cat, first of all, never chase them or try to force them or corner them into doing anything because, oh, cats just, they hate that crap. But the new rule is that when you feed the cat, if you want to do this, because I've tamed a number in here even, and they're not even forced to come in here, but you control the food source, and when you put the food down, the cat has to get near you. Now, you just sit quietly, maybe just clack on the computer or whatever. I mean, don't make a big thing out of it, but each time that you feed the cat is going to be required to get a little closer to you and a little closer to you to get that food. Pick it so that it's not too much of a leap, and if it takes the cat a half hour to decide to come closer, that's fine. You know, if it's taking, you know, if they're really not doing it, maybe don't push them that fast. Some cats you can go real quick with this, and some it's slow. Okay, so eventually you're going to get the food right next to your feet, right? So then if this cat is really scratchy and bitey, then use an oven mitts. But if it's not, and if you can dangle your hand down there, so just start dangling your hand down there by the food, and the cat, if you want to eat, you got to come up. Now, you're never forcing this cat to do anything. It's always its choice. And sometimes they'll come up, they'll eat 2 bites, they'll run back, whatever, you know. Then, like, at the end of the day, I just put some more food out, because I don't actually want them to be, like, not getting enough food because they're so scared. So, by the end of the day, I will put out enough to make sure they're full for that day. But cats just have no patience, so most of them are still going to try to get that food during the day. They don't want to wait for 2 hours or whatever. So you just keep up in the ante, okay? So your hand is dangling down there, and then you just touch them once. I recommend that you do it either on the side or along the back between the shoulder and the butt along the top. Just once. Like, you can just get your hand so close, and then you just brush them just once. And they might jump back, you know, don't even worry about it. You got to give the cat the time to process this stuff. And after a while, the cat is going to tolerate this touch. You just keep doing it. Just keep doing it. And the cat will be like, well, I just have to tolerate this one touch to get this food. It's not that bad. I survived. Never lunge, grab, or push more than just that tiny bit. You're trying to get the cat to not worry about it. And then you very slowly up the ante. So you might just touch him for like a hair longer, a hair longer, today, and then tomorrow a hair longer. And if they have a certain movement that they hate, like a lot of cats hate when you reach for them if they're fearful. And so I will just sit there and I'll go like this for like 10 minutes, from a distance away from them. So they're way over here, and I'll go like this. I'll make the motion just over and over and over until their brain gets bored and this no longer triggers them. And then once I get to there, where they're just like, looking away, like, oh, that crap again. And then you can go a little closer. And generally I can get like a long way in a few weeks, where I'm like, first I touch them a little bit, then I stroke them little. And in the beginning they're like, oh, I hate this crap, and this is so obnoxious, and I can't believe I have to deal with this to get the food. And then there's a point where they suddenly realize that it feels good. The petting feels good. And then you really, now don't go too fast with grabbing them and stuff, but, just slowly. But that's the general thing. So if you can get to there, then I consider that like halfway done. And then I do a similar thing with picking them up an inch, another 2 inches, blah, blah, blah. Very slowly. Okay, so you can feed her with your hand. So just slowly escalate the touching. Don't go for a big thing. Just one little touch, and here's your food, one little touch. And if I'm like really want to push the envelope, I'll get some real good, yummy, stinky food like liverwurst. You can't feed them too much of that because, too much is not good. But a lot of cats will work really hard for liverwurst. The other thing is if they ever do anything unwanted, like hissing excessively or swatting, if they ever swat, then I withdraw the food. Like, you can't have it if you hiss or swat. That's a rule. Because we don't want to encourage bad behavior. So, don't yell at them or anything. I'm just like, you don't get any until you're nice. So that's another rule I have. It's mostly the swatting, because I mostly don't want them. Sometimes cats are like, I'll just swat it out of their hand, and we don't want to train them to do that. Okay. She loves to be pet as long as she doesn't see your hands. Okay, so is it the grab? Figure out what's triggering it and just do that motion from a distance. Like, she might be sitting across the room and you do the motion. The hands are out there. Some cats, if you look at them, it makes them nervous. I'll look at them, but then I'll look away. Just do it over and over and over and over until you desensitize it to that motion. And it actually can go pretty quick. You can often get the whole thing cleared away in a few days, or like 95% of their fear will be cleared away, because you'll just do it so much and nothing will happen. And after a while, they just can't keep up the phobia. So yeah, I wouldn't sneak the petting when she's sleeping, because then she doesn't trust you. It's a loss of trust, basically. You're stealing a pet. If you do it and she knows you're going to do it, and then she decided to tolerate it, because that's what it'll be in the beginning, and decide to solve. It's still her choice, and it makes a huge difference in her mindset that she chose. If they think they always chose, and you never forced it, because you're luring them with food, but you never forced her. That is the trick. And that is the trick for cats, because I swear, if they think they chose it and you never made them do anything that they didn't. Now, once you're buddies, then you could pet them when they're asleep, because they already said it was okay. They already allowed the petting. Okay, so she's not afraid of eye contact. There's going to be different motions, like certain things trigger them, and there are certain cats that, so I start on the back, and then once they're comfortable and appear to be enjoying it, then I very slowly move my hand to other spot. I'll do a couple over here and then back to the back, couple over here. Then you can start sneaking around the sides, and when they're totally comfortable with the sides and the under the belly, then you can lift them. Like, usually once they're enjoying petting and they're fine, you can lift them for just an inch. Lift them from an inch and put them down right away before they, usually that's pretty easy by then. But Yeah, the nails is a whole. That's a whole nother thing. Now you're basically got a tame cat that you're training. It's a little bit different than there's different tactics for that. So basically, you're just desensitizing her to the phobia stuff. Just do it over and over at a distance that she's comfortable with, and till she just it extinguishes. Her nervousness will extinguish. Like it'll stop triggering her. All right, this is interesting about the chicken, though. All right, what do we got? Korean grandpa. We did that one. I think I was going to do this way over here. I don't know why it's there. Okay, this one, I was going to do this a couple weeks ago, but I forgot about it. So there's this thing called, and we've seen images of it, like, in drawings, which is here. This drawing, this elf halo thing, and there's the elf, which I guess is the tree things. No, that's sprites. What's the elves? What is the elves anyway? This is an elf halo, so actually I'm not sure what the elf itself is. But anyway, the halo has showed up here in Italy. And so this is a real image of the elf halo. Like this actually happened in Italy. And here's about where it happened. Cyprus, Eastern owner. Okay. So they were talking about this. This happened here. And this is an image of it. And that happened in 2023. Did anybody hear about this happening like a couple years ago? I think this is new, because I'm pretty sure we would have seen this image when you're looking up elves the other billion times. And I think this one is fake. Is this one fake? Or is this a real one? Because I don't think I saw this one last time. Rare form of lightning that occurs when EM pulse shoots upward from the clouds and hits nitrogen particles, causing them to glow red for only 0.001 second. And yeah, that's another thing. They're very brief. Now, I would not be surprised if they maybe get pulsy or linger down the line. But for now, we've got 0.001 second. But this is the first time I've really seen a clear image of them, like, shot from the earth. And they said that they're, this is something, I was looking this up and they're like, the AI is like, they might be red. What does that mean? Okay, I had only seen red ones, but this one does not look very red. Recorded by the International Space Station from 250 miles. Okay, so here's another one I have not seen. It does not look red. It looks purple. I think this is the lightning storm there. The light of an elves comes from the excitation of nitrogen molecules, blah, blah. We already did that. I guess that's supposed to be one. Glow for 1 millisecond. Expanding 250 miles in diameter. Okay, so anyway, elves are showing up. There's that one. 62 miles above Ancona, Italy. Red elves. Okay, so a single still has an S on it. A red elves. According to this article, anyways. Artist's impression. I don't want to see that. This has got to be artist's impression. That better be artist's impression or I'm losing it. All right. So anyway, elves are in the house. This photo depicts elves and a red sprite 60 miles above the clouds. Dang! Okay, so that wasn't even there. I found this a couple weeks ago, and I looked pretty hard for images at that time, and I did not find anything besides this one, so it's a little interesting that now there's several more. All right, and now there's these other weird ones that I also didn't cover, like isolated proton aurora. This is another one where they're saying like one of them is like, these are a sight to behold. And then I looked a couple weeks and I couldn't find like any images of them. So they're a sight to behold, but you can't see them. Like, this is Steve here. Remember Steve when he said new kind of aurora? Well, Steve's not even in aurora now. And it's not new, but I'm looking for IPA. So I guess it's not pronounced IPA. I don't know. It's not that beer you drink. Said Steve, SAR, and IPA, and pulsating aurora. I think pulsating, is that the same as isolated proton aurora? So isolated proton auroras, they stick around for a while. I think we did SAR last time, right? SAR, stable, auroral red arc. This is isolated proton aurora. And those, I'm pretty sure those are the ones that just like kind of pulse and stuff. Glowing pulses patches, usually of greener. So this green part, I guess, is it. Caused by protons instead of electrons. Has unusual shapes or movements. Protons from the solar wind are funneled into the magnetosphere. That's what causes these. Now, one thing interesting about a bunch of these new ones, new for us, is that they're saying that they happen away from the main aurora areas, like to the north. So I think these are going to be the things where the rest of us equatorial bums can see more, because these are all going to be, oh, these are taking place in other parts of the earth. Now, interestingly, they say that, but yet most images of them still show them like really close to normal auroras, but the storyline is pushing them out. So I think we're going to see these like, so maybe this is something that California can get a bunch of. So I talked about the Steves really close, because what I remember is not that many years ago, they said, hey, there's a new type of aurora that's been spotted, and they decided to call it Steve. And now the story is that Steves have been known about for decades, so they're not new. They last 20 to 60 minutes. Okay, these Steves. So, I mean, do regular auroras that last that long? I don't think so. So this is one that thing is confusing, is there's like Steves are often observed above picket fence auroras, but then sometimes they're acting like this is the picket fence, is part of the Steve. So I don't even know, like the timeline has not sorted out. That's a regular aurora. The timeline has not sorted out the exact definitions, I don't think. The other thing is, I thought that Steves were red. Weren't they red? But they're like purple now. They're also kind of, I don't know, the shape is just different. Okay, that's a proton arc. What the heck? Proton arc. Wait, Steves, are those proton arcs? They're called, Steve stands for Strong Thermal Emission Velocity Enhancement. Supposedly that's a backronym, which means they came up with the word Steve first, and then they came up with words that would sound good as a Steve. So, proton arc. What's the difference between a Steve and a proton arc? See, I'm telling you, I'm not smart enough for this timeline. He captured this proton arc near Kamloops. I think we did this last week, and I was still confused. Okay. But I saw some other Steves that were even more crazy than this. All right, so these are the proton arcs. That's crazy. Did we see stuff that crazy last time? I think it was more like this. Treated to a rare auroral phenomena, proton arc, which appeared in the night sky. Bethel, Alaska, blah, blah, blah. See, this is kind of how I remember the Steves, but now they're like really bright. All right, I think we did this area last time, or a couple times ago. Steve's. Okay, so that was it. I think that was all of the lightning that I have lately seen. All right, caught up. Elves, sprites, and the like were never visible from the ground. Yeah, they do seem like they're getting lower, huh? So for me, they were just like a rumor when I first heard of them. And there weren't all these extra ones. There was just like sprites. That was it. There was no like halos and all this other stuff. Ah, okay. I ran into the same thing you ran into. Interesting. Yet another coincidence. Yeah, catnip is genetic. Some of them are not interested. There's another one now called silver vine that has always existed. It's like catnip. And if your cats don't like catnip, you might want to try silver vine. My cats at home likes both of them. Silver vine is like this woody stick thing. It's non-toxic, and they do. It's kind of similar. I think they get a little less feisty and a little more spacey on it, maybe, but. Yeah, they came with the Steves, but now they'll say, like, the Steves go way back. So, let's see. Steve Aurora Wiki. So, the story now is that it was named in 2016. But existed before that. I still feel like 2016, was it that far back that they started saying we found a new thing and it's called Steve? Was it 3 years before the pandemic? I really feel like it wasn't that far back. It wasn't 3 years before the pandemic. I think that was after the pandemic, like during the middle of it, later parts of the pandemic where they said there's a new one called Steve, and we looked it up, and it was from that year. It wasn't from like years and years before. It was like breaking news. All right, Steves appear closer to the equator than traditional auroras. So there's that narrative again. These new ones are going to be for the rest of us. Purple and green colors of Steve. See, now here they're calling the picket fence as part of Steve, but I thought originally the Steve was just the ribbon. Are caused by a wide ribbon of hot plasma. It often appears above green picket fence aurora. Okay, well now that makes it sound like it's a separate phenomena. Systematically observed and reported in scientific literature since 1920s and 30s, although it was not widely known until recently. Steve is associated with subauroral ion drifts, fast-moving streams of extremely hot particles. SEDS. They're from SEDS. Citizen scientists have played a crucial role in documenting and studying Steve. Is Steve is it an aurora? So a lot of these are saying, oh, they're not actually auroras. Oh, here's one I saw. Yeah, look at it. There was no Steves that crazy. And then there's some tiny little Steves here. A Steve? How many Steves are in here? That looks like there's 3 Steves in here. Oh, you know what? I bet you we're going to get like bunches of Steves. That would be kind of cool. There is like totally 3 streaks in here, so something is up. That one looks like it's green underneath and purple at the top. So yeah, Steve's, I think they're very much upgrading themselves. Ah, you slept for 6 hours. Score. I've been getting some decent amounts of sleep. It's just like when I become sleepy has been weird. Just got told that the 70s show Mandela Effect is old. Wait, which one are we? Which one was that? They're going to be neon green, and no, they already were known since the 1920s. I beat you to it. Yeah, that's the other thing. Like lately, 8 hours, 6 hours is it. But then I need a nap later. I don't think I could sleep 8 hours. But sometimes I don't need a nap, and then several days go by. Then I might really sleep a long time. But lately, now it's going to be 6 hours and then a few hours later. I don't know. There was a while where I would just sleep 10 hours once in a while, but I don't know if I can do that now. I don't understand how Stefan is pronounced the same as Steven. Yeah, I don't know either. Don't ask me about spelling. Can't understand that. Yeah, I don't know. I kind of like weird stuff, so maybe it's a good timeline for me, but I would like it if people were nicer. Not you guys. You guys are cool, but like people in line and less judgy. I don't know. Maybe we always did that, but now they're just saying it out loud. I mean, that could be it. Maybe it's just the real situation is now on display, but it's just kind of exhausting where you just disagree with somebody on some theoretical thing, and then they're like, well, you're an idiot and you're so stupid, and then they'll call you stupid, and then they'll say something that frankly is not very genius either. And so it's just like, like, why am I even trying to talk to anybody? I would like it if we got a little bit more respectful for each other. Overall, I was sleeping 13 hours last week. So the real question is, after the 13 hours, did you feel refreshed? Because I don't always. So yeah, the social distancing, it is a thing. It's like the word infected reality, or the infected reality created the word, or it's all tied together somehow. Yeah, see, if yeah. Sleep, it is just not like easy to manage anymore. It used to be so simple. I'm tired, I close my eyes, I sleep a normal amount of time, I get up, I feel better. But now, no. I may sleep 2 hours, feel like I'm done. I might sleep 8 hours and feel crappy. There's no logic to it. I do wonder if it's other people's energies, certainly. Maybe that's why it's worse in the day, because everybody's all busy, but I don't know, man. That actually bugs me more than anything. Is I just don't know, like, there's issues, but I'm not sure what's causing it, so I don't know the ways that would be to ameliorate it. Can it be ameliorated? I like to think there's always a way. Stephen King. That's the Mandela effect. Okay, I remember now. Stephen King. That was the Mandela effect, though. Wasn't he Stephen King and not Stefan? Ah, sorry, I got that cold thing, too. And it's not even like... See, it makes me glad that I'm not crazy. I hate to say it when you say the same thing, because I do get cold when I'm going to sleep, and then just randomly. But it's a lot of times I'm not getting sleepy, but I'll just have these cold fits, like it'll feel cold, but it's a different kind of cold, and it's kind of tingly. But when I'm going to bed, it's quite common that right when I'm ready to cross over into the like unconscious lands, I'll get really, really cold, and it'll be so cold, and it's that inside cold. It's not the air temperature cold. I can tell now because I've gotten so familiar with it. It'll be cold enough to wake me back up, which is irritating, because then I have to go through the process of falling asleep again. The second time, I don't get cold, or I don't wake up, one or the other, but it's kind of like, now I got to do this twice. Find energy where it doesn't make you feel that way. Yeah, okay. I don't know where that is. Maybe if I left the city, but I mean, that would be hours of driving, and I don't really feel that good. Plus, I gotta work, so I don't know. Maybe the timelines will just change and it'll get better. Yeah, I don't know. I don't want to not be in contact with people, but I'm not like I used to be. Like, I used to be way more wanting to do it. So I do feel like the social distancing has affected me quite a bit too. I'm just not, and I have a history of talking to people, so it's not an alien process for me. I think for the younger generation, it's harder for them because they're not used to it. And maybe all of their sentiments just kind of infiltrated the global unconscious, and that's also part of it. I don't know. I think as a human, it's hard to not know, to just be down here with like very little idea and a lot of guessing and not a lot of ways to verify. That's my impression. And maybe that's why people just jump on a theory and just cling to it and assume it's true, because it's just maybe more comforting to think you know the answers. But so that might be a lot of it. I don't know. I want to know the answers. I want to know some answers, but we've been here like what, 8 years? We've seen patterns. Have not seen many answers. All right. Well, yes, it is time. Thank you all for coming. Think good thoughts, everybody. This is Eva signing off for Once Upon a Timeline.